name is Maria Hernandez, and I am born and raised here in San Antonio.
Were you always creative?
No, I was not. I didn't start making art until after I graduated from college. I didn't really start making art until 2009. And the first time that I feel like I was introduced to art was again after I graduated from college. So I didn't participate in any sort of creative outlet prior to that. I started volunteering for a small nonprofit organization called Self-Portraiture in 2001. And that organization has two main programs. They have a newspaper program and they have a mural program. And so when I started working with them, I was working with the newspaper and then also learning about murals and Chicano art and muralismo. And that was really my introduction into art and realizing what art is. I'm interested in self-portraiture after studying art a little bit and reading up on it a little bit on my own. Of course, you know, one of the most famous, well-known self-portrait artists is Cindy Sherman, and so she was really the first artist who I came across in terms of self-portraiture. You know, doing a search for Chicanas or Latinas or brown women artists that are also self-portrait artists aren't really going to produce much information. And so when I was first getting started and interested in art, it was hard to find artists to follow. There were very few, but her work really stood out to me. And so that learning about her work, and then in combination of learning about contemporary art, learning about Latino art and Chicano art, Mexican American artists, all of those things kind of formed my path. You know, you can only take so many photos of yourself where people are going to recognize you as you, and you're going to look the same. So I feel like within my work I try and push those boundaries a little bit, and that's where the altering of my physical appearance comes in. So it's kind of shifted, you know, from when I first started working and using self-portraits as a way to explore identity. I still do those same things, but I use the medium in a different way, because the early self-portraits I took, it was me, it was obvious it was me, and now I try to make it, to make myself unrecognizable. My work revolves heavily around identity, and that identity of growing up in San Antonio, growing up Mexican American, growing up within, you know, two cultures and sort of straddling these two cultures. And so there's something that happens when these two cultures bump up against each other and they form this third identity. And so it's really an exploration of that. You know, San Antonio is majority Latino, it's majority Mexican American, and so those, you know, the way that I grew up, you know, the food I ate, the language my family spoke, you know, the places we lived in, you know, all of that sort of forms this Mexican American experience, and my work is about exploring that. Well, I think that the Chicana identity I think identity is fluid. I think that you as an individual are able to define your own identity based on your own experiences. And to me, being a Chicana boils down to the Mexican American experience, and it boils down to my individual experience. So it's up to me to articulate that identity. And, you know, it influences my work in a large way, because it's really about exploring what that identity means and how it shifts and moves, and it becomes fluid as you change, you know, as you grow and as you develop. So I feel like it's constantly shifting and changing, but it's also rooted in these like cultural nuances, or these, you know, ideas of what culture means to me. I started making art with a collective called Masrudas, and that Masrudas came together in 2009, and we were a group of women who created installations together. And Masrudas is, it was a project, and we worked together between 2009 and 2016, and very proud of the work that we did together. I feel like it really it taught me how to be an artist. It taught me how to navigate the art world. But within Masrudas, we also created multiple installations and worked together in multiple ways. So, I'm really proud of the work that I did with Masrudas. And now that I'm a solo artist, the exhibitions that I'm participating on my own, the work I'm making for those exhibitions it's still self-portraiture, but it's a little different. And the last exhibition that I had, called What Remains, was my solo exhibition at the Southwest School of Art. I think was a series of work that I've been most proud of so far. The label, the identity of Latinx from when it started to where it is now has definitely shifted. And I think it's still growing. It's redefining itself in all different kinds of ways. If you would feel as if you fall into the Latinx identity and you label yourself as a Latinx artist, I feel like you bring a unique perspective to the art world. In my opinion, the contemporary art world is not a very diverse place, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in it, because I feel like it's necessary for us to take our seat at the table. It's necessary for us to affect representation, and the only way that you're going to do that is by inserting yourself. But I think that when these artists are given an opportunity to show, they're given, their work is represented, this identity is represented, it adds value to art, and what does art do? Art communicates things, it communicates ideas, it communicates perspectives and knowledge, it opens people up. And so I like to think of art as a form of education. You're sharing your experience with the viewer and with the outside world. And that just, it adds diversity to the art world, and diversity is a good thing. And yeah, my work is definitely political. I think that, especially right now, I make art because it's a way to articulate ideas, and it's a way to communicate things that I may not necessarily know how to vocalize. And the things and issues that I'm most concerned with are issues that affect minorities and women and brown and black communities. And that's all politics. And I think that in a way all art is political. But it's hard for me to separate those art and politics. It's hard for me to separate those things. One of the main, focuses of my work is to affect representation and to have a voice and to represent brown women. And so I really want that to be, a message within my work. I want people to realize, the perspective of a brown woman, and that's communicated through my work.